I will die on the hill of the fact that fast estates are way cooler than fast SUVs. You're welcome to disagree with me, but honestly, estate cars, fast ones in particular, have a special place in my heart. And not just because I had an estate as my first car. So in this video, we're gonna look at 5 depreciated examples that you can buy for relatively reasonable money compared to their actual performance. But don't forget I'm in the UK, so prices might be different where you live. And whenever you buy these kinds of cars, they're gonna come with a lot of additional costs. Before we get into it, make sure you smash the like button, I'd really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments down below, what would you like as the next video on estate cars? I'm looking at either doing more expensive or less expensive. More expensive will be like hyper estates, and less expensive will be ones that are around about the 20k region. Let me know, I'll make the video. Subscribe as well if you're new here. Without further ado, let's get into the video. I did a video a little while ago on how Peugeot turned their brand around for seemingly the millionth time, going from making some quite uninspiring cars in the mid-2000s to returning to some properly cool offerings today. Probably the flagship of those offerings is the 508 SW PSE, which comes as both the saloon and estate, but of course it's the estate we care about in this video. It's got the smallest engine on the list, a 1.6 litre turbocharged inline-4 with an electric motor as well, making a combined 350 brake horsepower, which will get it from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, pretty quick for an estate and very quick for a Peugeot. In case you weren't aware, PSE stands for Peugeot Sport Engineered, and it's nice to see a return of the Peugeot Sport brand that has been responsible for many successful race cars of the past and a few iconic road cars as well. It wasn't actually built to rival the top echelons of the fast estate car world, instead taking on the Audi S4 and BMW M340i. Hence it's not quite as quick as some of the other cars on this list, but I wanted to put some respect on Peugeot's name for what they've done in terms of handling. According to reviewers and owners, it feels a lot like driving a hot hatchback, just with great stability from the extra size, which is the kind of experience you want when out on twisty B roads here in the UK. Add on the nicely designed and comfortable interior and you'll genuinely feel like you're in a very premium package. That said, many owners have complained about the fact that with options they are quite expensive, with on-the-road prices being over £55,000, despite there not being a huge set of options to choose from. So fortunately second-hand they start at £38,000, and you'll get a good 2021 example for that kind of money, making this the newest car on the list. Herein lies the main problem with the car, however. There isn't much to talk about in terms of reliability as it's too new, but that price being so high demands the car to be exceptional, even just by Peugeot Sport standards. And in general, I saw a lot of articles complaining about value for money. So if you're getting one at the lower end of the used car price range, maybe that value for money ratio changes, but brand new you might want to wait for a better model. I would probably argue that Volvo, one of the leading pioneers in the world of fast estates, with cars like the V70R gaining an incredible cult following and even entering into the British Touring Car Championship with the 850 estate, which is one of the coolest touring cars ever in my opinion. With this rich history in making fast estates, they continue to push the boundaries today with the Volvo V60 T8 Polestar engineered, that comes with a 2 litre turbo and supercharged inline-4 engine, as well as an electric motor producing 399 brake horsepower in total, which gets from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. Of all the cars on this list, I would say this is the real sleeper, with its sleeker, less shouty design, but that incredible performance, and wait until you hear what Polestar did to the standard car to make it even faster. But before we get onto that, let's talk about the powertrain, as Volvo calls the T8 a twin engine car, which isn't actually the case. It's just talking about the fact that it has 2 different types of power, i.e. the fact that it has a hybrid motor as well. It's all-wheel drive too, because the electric motor feeds the rear wheels while the petrol engine feeds the front, helping with drivability and getting those 0 to 60 times lower. When Polestar get involved with a Volvo, you know it's going to be good, and with this car they did an exceptional job redeveloping the chassis to create a car that remains agile while weighing almost 2,000 kilograms. It gets Olin shock absorbers with Polestar specially engineered springs for a better ride, less body roll and much more cornering grip. Add on those 6-piston Brembo front calipers and it stops quickly as well. Some owners have complained about poor steering feel, but almost everyone guesses up how well the car transitions from being a fast estate into a comfortable, practical motorway cruiser that soaks up the miles like it's nothing. These start at around £42,000, which is a lot of money for a Volvo estate, but you'll get a nice 2020 example for that kind of money. Even though I said it's sleeperish, I still love the exterior, particularly with the Thor's Hammer day running lights, and the interior too remains Volvo's typical simple design, while also feeling luxurious and comfortable. This car is slept on by many, but it's the real deal in my opinion. When Porsche started to make cars that weren't traditional sports cars, many of their die-hard fans weren't pleased. Some, of course, were very gassed because it meant they could drive SUVs in estates with their favourite badge attached, but for many it was a rogue decision. I won't bang on about that because I've covered it in many previous videos, but today the Panamera is one of the key competitors in the shooting brake / estate class, with the Sport Turismo being one of my absolute favourites. Of course, that's a little way outside of even our depreciated budget, so let's look at the Panamera Turbo S from the first generation car that comes with a 4.8 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine producing 562 brake horsepower, which will get from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. This was an incredibly expensive car when new at around £140,000, which is proper money for an estate, although this is probably more a shooting brake or hatchback based on that sloping roofline, which is meant to be more reminiscent of how the 911 is designed. Many people were less than kind about the looks of the car in fact when it was new, but I do think it's aged pretty well, and it's hard to argue against the newer examples being even better looking, and I had the opportunity to actually meet a member of the design team who was rightfully very proud of their work. The Turbo S benefits from one feature in particular that I think Porsche have gotten bang on, that Porsche feel. Despite its size and weight, it's known to handle incredibly well and not too dissimilar to what you'd expect out of a Porsche sports car. The same can be said for the interior, as Porsche are very good at making their cabins nice places to be without being too shouty. The only thing I'd maybe complain about is just how many buttons there are on the centre console, which could be quite confusing as a new owner. Considering these were six-figure cars when new, you'll be happy to know that you'll get a 2012 example starting at around £38,000 and generally be looking at finding them around £42,000. In general, it's known to be a very solid car in terms of reliability too, though the maintenance schedule will be more pricey than the average car, of course. If you find one that hasn't had its maintenance schedule neglected, you can mostly rest easy, with the main complaints I could find on forums referring to coolant leaks and failing rear spoiler motors. Just quickly, make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't already and subscribe as well if you're new here, and let me know in the comments, as I said, do you want to see this video done as hyper estate, so the best of the best estate cars that you can get for the money, or do you want to see a slightly cheaper example? I want to do the same video again at around about the 20-25k region. It might actually be impossible for me to make this video without including an Audi RS6, being arguably the most well-loved and probably the gold standard of what a fast estate should be. The third generation offers a really nice balance between being reasonably priced and still maintaining more modern luxuries that we've come to expect in cars today, as well as obviously being absolutely rapid. That's all thanks to the 4 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine that makes 552 brake horsepower, which will get from 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, which is utterly bonkers for a car that has 565 litres of luggage capacity. This car actually proves how much the car world loves a fast estate, because for a time the RS6 was the most popular car on Instagram, with more hashtags than any other car. The thing is, this popularity does take away from its intentions of being a sleeper car, as too many people know it's rapid. Audi still went for that formula though, with a beefier body overall than the standard A6, but still relatively subtle in the flair department. It walks in the footsteps of some other giants in the fast estate world too, like the classic Audi RS2 Avant, which effectively started this craze of having fast estate Audis. For me, the RS6 is the car that a car-loving parent owns who isn't a major fan of the more recent SUV trend and wants something exotic with a respected name that maintains some level of practicality. What's mental about the RS6 is if you go for the Dynamic Plus spec, it's limited, remember, limited to 189 miles per hour, which is some mad pace out of a family wagon. And it will keep a family comfortable too, with a lovely interior that isn't overly complicated but does feel premium and sporty. It was assembled at Audi's Hungarian plant, and they have definitely done a great job in terms of quality control. These start at around £32,000 and you'll find most good examples at around £36,000 from 2013 or newer. Owners complain most about the cost of tyres and fuel in these, and it does consume both at a high rate. There are 3 other main issues I could find to make you aware of: warping brake discs, splitting coolant hoses on post-2015 facelift models, and alloy wheels cracking. Taking the top spot is probably the best sounding car on this list, the Mercedes E63 S AMG. Mercedes have a strong selection of fast estates and shooting brakes right now, but the E63 S is their flagship example, with that insane 5.5 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine that produces 603 brake horsepower, which gets to 60 in 3.4 seconds. Those figures are actually mental, more than 600 brake out of a car that you can comfortably fit 5 people and some dogs in. Ridiculous. Compared to the standard E-Class, the AMG is wider with a far more aggressive stance, matched by the more aggressive stylings throughout. As with many other Mercs, it has been used as the medical car in Formula 1, in part of course due to the Mercedes sponsorship, plus the fact that it can comfortably carry the medics, their equipment and an injured driver, and arrive on scene in an incredibly fast time, proving the car's status as a fast estate. I would probably go as far as calling it a hyper estate estate based on its performance figures and real-world applications. Mercedes have been exceptional at designing beautiful looking interiors for their cars, but one slight problem some owners have had is the choice of a few materials feeling less premium. Outside of that though, it does look great in there, and I think given these have dipped so much in price, you'd be happy with the package. In part that's because it was hugely expensive too, at over £100,000 with options, but reviews often name this one of the best all-round cars available, so you are getting reasonable value for money, especially if you're getting it used, as £29,000 around the lowest you'll find these listed for in non-S spec, and the majority of S's sit around the £50,000 range, which is pretty good for more than 600 brake horsepower. On reliability, generally it's been okay, and owners have been complimentary about the Mercedes support network, but there have been some known problems that happened in early cars' lives, like some suffering from the start-stop system failing and being stuck in stop mode, leaving them stranded. The average MPG I could spot was around 26, and of course tyres can be consumed pretty quickly with spirited driving. So wasn't that fun? I do love a fast estate. Thanks for watching, and thank you again to the patrons for their support. But if this isn't your budget and you're looking for something a little bit cheaper, then make sure you click up here where you'll find it at £10,000 instead, and click down here to subscribe to the channel for 2 videos every single week.